Good evening. This 63rd meeting of the 72nd term of the Baltimore City Council is now called to order. Please turn off all cell phones or put them on vibrate. Tonight's invocation will be led by Rabbi Tannenbaum from Jewish Unified Service of Maryland, Shabbat. Immediately following the prayer, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Isaiah 45:18 states, "He is the God, the one who fashioned the earth and its maker. He established it. He did not create it for emptiness. He fashioned it to be inhabited." A vital aspect of God's plan in creation, based on the verse in Isaiah, is for people to live and work together for a civilized society that operates in harmony. This is the purpose of government, to build a community where people can thrive as only human beings are capable, so that they are free to serve God to their best ability. Honorable City Council President and City Council members, it is easy to lose sight of this lofty goal when you are bogged down in deliberations in that which demands your attention. Therefore, we turn to God to bestow blessings in our city, to our city's leaders, to provide them the wisdom to balance the rights of individuals, the community, and businesses, to enact laws and institute policies that will bring God's blessings of peace, goodness, and blessings upon them and upon all the citizens of this great city. May it be favorable in God's eyes to bless our mayor and city council members and all citizens of Baltimore at all times and at every moment with his peace and blessings. May God bless the United States of America, the state of Maryland, and the city of Baltimore. Let us say amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Showcase Baltimore. Tonight's Showcase Baltimore presenter is Ebony Wilder from Baltimore City Community Action Partnership.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you tonight to discuss a program that is for youth that is launching next month. My name is Ebony Wilder, and I'm from Baltimore City Community Action Partnership. Our mission is to help low-income households in Baltimore City become self-sufficient. So this summer, which will be our third summer, we're hosting free financial literacy and College 101 workshops. They're free for all city youth ages 13 to 21. We're hosting the workshops at Morgan State University School of Business. On site, youth will learn about how to manage their money wisely, the importance of savings, and also preparing for college. So what's life after high school? That might not be college. What about going to a trade school or just pursuing your dreams? In terms of college, how to search for college, how to pay for college, so things outside of loans, but grants and scholarships. So that's what the workshop is about. They have free lunch at Rollins Dining Hall for those who are familiar with Morgan State University, and also Morgan State University ambassadors lead the students on a tour of the campus. So it's a really great opportunity. Youth seem to love it. We've partnered with the YouthWorks program. So their participants attend the workshops to learn more about their debit pay card, but also take advantage of the opportunity to learn more about college. Another big event that I want to discuss, and that's in your handouts, this Thursday we are hosting an eviction prevention event at Morgan State University. This helps those who face an eviction to get the funding that they need to stay within their homes. Participants need to register. All of the information, including eligibility and documents that they need to bring, is included in your handouts, but we encourage anyone that's facing an eviction to please register for the event. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The clerk will call the roll of the members.
President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Sneed, Clark. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Bills to be introduced.
City Council Bill 190402, zoning, conditional use parking lots, Hohen Lithograph Building. For the purpose of permitting, subject to certain conditions, the establishment, maintenance, and operation of parking lots to serve the Hohen Lithograph Building on the properties known as 2000 through 2028 East Biddle Street, 2030 through 2044 East Biddle Street, 2011 through 2017 East Biddle Street, 2021 through 2045 East Biddle Street, 2201 through 2235 Hinneman Avenue, 1100 through 1106 North Patterson Park Avenue, and adjacent alleys, as outlined in red on the accompanying plat. Sponsors Stokes, Sneed, Henry.
This has been signed to the Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 190403, Fair Election Fund, Establishment and Administration. For the purpose of establishing the Fair Election Fund authorized by City Charter, Article 1, Section 15, to provide public campaign financing for candidates for city elective office, regulating certain campaign finance activity of a candidate for city elective office who voluntarily accepts public campaign financing, providing for the powers and duties of the City Fair Election Fund Commission, requiring that the Commission educate the citizens of Baltimore on regarding the fund and how to participate, requiring that the Commission perform certain periodic reviews, establishing certain qualifications for applicants to receive public campaign financing, establishing an application process, authorizing the Maryland State Board of Elections to assist in the administration and enforcement of the public campaign financing system, establishing certain fund distribution requirements, providing for certain penalties for violations of the public campaign financing system, defining certain terms, conforming and correcting related provisions, generally relating to the administration of the Fair Election Fund, and providing for special effective dates. Sponsors Burnett, Henry, Dorsey, Bullock, Cohen, Sneed, Middleton, McCray, Clark, Reisinger.
Please note Council President Scott as a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to start by thanking all of the co-sponsors and the members of the Baltimore City Fair Election Fund Commission, committee, fighters in the street, pushing this bill forward. And in November 2018, the voters of Baltimore, over 100,000 of them, voted for Question H, which creates the Baltimore City Fair Election Fund. And this bill represents that second step towards an effort to reduce the impact that big monies from big donors has on our elections here in Baltimore City. You know, my background is in community organizing, and I know all of us here know how difficult it is to run for office. But when you come from community work, it can be particularly difficult because you may not know a lot of very wealthy individuals who can finance your campaigns. And a number of municipalities all across the country have taken a step to create a better democratized system towards funding elections, and so that people with the best ideas, who have the strongest work ethic, who've done the work in the community, have the best shot to win. And this is what this is all about. So I look forward to a committee process to answer questions people may have moving forward, especially the piece around the funding mechanism, which is notably missing from this piece. But I'll just say that the reason for that is that we want this idea to be at the forefront, that local people who are running, who care about Baltimore City, have a good shot to win elections. And it's something that we cannot afford to do. We have a lot of crises that have been going on here in the city for a number of years, and we want to make sure that this room and all the rooms in City Hall are filled with elected officials who have the best intentions at heart, but more importantly have not only the vote of the citizens of Baltimore, but so that if they want to contribute and throw in and get more engaged in that very expensive electoral process, which we know everyone here knows is not an easy process, whether it becomes T-shirts, yard signs, anything that it takes to get the word out. We want to make that as easy as possible, but more importantly, we want the best ideas to float to the top. So thank you again to the Fair Election Fund Coalition, to all my co-sponsors, and the opportunity to speak, Mr. Chair. Appreciate you.
Thank you. This has been assigned to the Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee. Resolutions to be introduced.
City Council Resolution 190155R, raising wages for employees working at heightened security interest locations. For the purpose of requesting that the Baltimore City delegation introduce a bill in the 2020 Maryland General Assembly session that sets a higher wage standard for employees working at heightened security interest locations to promote the safety, security, and welfare of state residents. Sponsors Sneed, Henry, Dorsey, Bullock, Stokes, Cohen, Burnett, Reisinger, and McCray.
Please add Council President Scott as a co-sponsor, Councilwoman Clark as a co-sponsor, Council Vice President Middleton as a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Snead.
Thank you, Council President. I'm urging all state elected officials to support the Secure Maryland Wage Act. This bill aims to increase the safety at certain locations, which are a heightened security interest, by allowing them to attract and retain experienced and trained workers. The Secure Maryland Wage Act would apply only to individuals employed at heightened security interest location. These locations are BWI, Penn Station in Baltimore, and the Port of Baltimore. While we support higher wages for all workers, we need a higher wage for heightened security interest locations because of the importance as crucial infrastructure facing unique security challenges. A uniform increase of the minimum wage would not help the problem of high turnover at airports and associated security risks posed by an inexperienced workforce. That is why I urge all my colleagues and the folks at the state to support the Secure Maryland Wage Act. The classification is based on the prevailing wage. It will also allow higher. It will always be higher than the Maryland minimum wage, meaning it will fulfill the bill's purpose of reducing turnover. So, Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules for immediate adoption.
Second by Councilwoman McCray. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion is approved. The rules are suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the resolution favorably.
Second by Councilwoman McCray. All those in favor of adopting Resolution 19-0155R say aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion carried, and this resolution is adopted.
City Council Resolution 19-0156R, informational hearing water outages. For the purpose of inviting representatives from the Department of Public Works, Department of Housing and Community Development, Housing Authority of Baltimore City Public School System, Department of Recreation and Parks, and the Baltimore City Health Department to discuss protocols in place for and best practices to provide assistance to Baltimore City residents in the event they lose access to water. Sponsors President Scott, Henry, Dorsey, Bullock, Stokes, Cohen, Snead, Burnett, Clark, McCray, Middleton.
Please add Councilman Pinkett, Councilman Schleifer, Councilman Dorsey as co-sponsors, Councilman Costello. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues, for co-sponsoring this resolution. Last Monday, residents in Poe Homes had their access to water interrupted due to a water main break in the area. This left hundreds of citizens, some of our Baltimore's most vulnerable, without access to a basic necessity. While I understand, and we all understand, the severe infrastructure challenges that our city faces, not only is it unacceptable for our residents to be without a basic need, the aging response and notification that took place is also unacceptable. Through today, I have not officially heard from the Director of Public Works about the outage, and in fact, I learned about it via social media contact with a citizen directly. More importantly, from being on site, and I want to take a moment to thank all of the citizens, business owners, and my council colleagues and our state colleagues for stepping up and pitching in to help during the crisis, especially over this weekend. There seems to me that the practices and protocols for these types of incidents are either non-existent, lacking, or not being followed. That is why I'm introducing this resolution so the council can use this oversight authority to push the agency to be better prepared with protocols and action plans so that no Baltimorean is subjected to what the residents of Poe Homes are being subjected to in the future. And I want to again thank all of our colleagues, and I look forward to a great hearing as this has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee. Consent calendar. You can find the consent calendar in Section A at the back of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Moved by Councilman Costello, second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar say aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion carries, and this calendar is approved. Third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Second.
You got to stand, sir.
Move short titles.
Second. All those in favor of reading short titles for the remainder of the meeting say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion is approved. Short titles for the remainder of the meeting. Third reader for final passage.
City Council Bill 19-0322, rezoning 1818 East Pratt Street. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 190326, sale of property, air rights area over a portion of the public right-of-way of the 4100 block of Hillen Road. President Scott Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 190333, rezoning 801 to 803 North Chester Street. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 190343, Minority and Women's Business Program Interim Extension. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
Please note that Council President Scott abstained. This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 190349, conditional use conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to 2 dwelling units in the R8 zoning district. Variance 2029 East Lombard Street. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 190358, Children and Youth Fund Interim Governance and Administration 1-year extension. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 190393, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of Works, $1,500,000. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 190394, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Police Department, $5 million. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
Please note that Councilman Dorsey is a no. This bill is approved.
190395, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Fire Department, $7 million. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 190396, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of Transportation, $10 million. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved. Committee announcements. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Housing Urban Affairs Committee will be hearing City Council Bill 190398 on Tuesday, July 23rd at 2 p.m. in council chambers, and that is the Urban Renewal for Poppleton Amendment. And there will also be a hearing on Tuesday, July 9th, and that will be at 3:45 p.m. for City Council Bill 190373, which is the Urban Renewal Canton Industrial Area Amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move for suspension of the rules to announce a hearing
Second
of
by
10-2 and 10-3.
Second by Councilman Burnett. All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Rules are suspended.
Mr. President, the Land Use and Transportation Committee will hold a hearing on Bill 19-0397 on July 31st at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. This is the repeal of Ordinance 03-613, the University of Maryland Biopark PUD. I ask for a move suspension of the rules on 10-2 and 10-3.
Second by Councilman Stokes. All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Rules are suspended.
The committee will hold a hearing on Bill 19-0399 on July 31st at 1:05 p.m. in the council chambers. This is a rezoning at 755, 757, 759, 761, and 763 West Fayette Street. Also 760 West Baltimore Street. It's block 0626, lot 053. NWC Martin Luther King Boulevard at West Baltimore Street, and a portion of the former bed of West Fairmont Avenue. Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules 10-2 and 10-3.
Second by Council Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The rules are suspended.
The committee will hold a hearing on Bill 19-0400 on July 31st at 1:10 p.m. in the council chambers. This is a zoning conditional use parking lot located at 301 East Lombard Street, also known as 300 East Pratt Street. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I move to suspend rules 10-2 and 10-3 to announce a hearing.
Second by Councilwoman McCray. All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye. All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye. All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye.
Aye.
There you go. All those opposed say nay. Rules are suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, the Housing and Urban Affairs Committee will be having a hearing on City Council Bill 19-0398 on July 23rd at 2 p.m. here in council chambers. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Committee announcements on this side. Clearing of the bill status. Please note the clearing of the bill status is now closed. Regular announcements. Before we go into regular announcements, I want to ask that Council Vice President Middleton honor a moment of silence for the now 145 victims of homicides in Baltimore and their families, and all of those that we continue to lose to the opioid crisis as well. Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Mr. President, I just want to give a moment of silence for Ms. Isabel Purnell. In February, we named the street after she turned 99 years old. Unfortunately, she passed away last week, so just a moment of silence for Ms. Isabel Purnell. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for all of our colleagues. I do want to echo some of the comments that you made before regarding the resolution. As many of you know, I represent the 9th District where Poe Homes and the surrounding community is located. And as you noted, we're over 280 people who were affected by this outage. We do recognize water is a human right. And so, again, it's important as a basic necessity that our people in our city have this access. So it's important for us to communicate and to work in a timely fashion to address this. As you also mentioned, and as we all know, Baltimore has an aging infrastructure which is crumbling under our feet every day. And so we're looking at things from water main breaks and valve issues and additional leaks. But regardless, our city, our government must take responsibility for the life, health, and safety of all of our residents, regardless of age, income, race, gender, or orientation. And I do thank you to everyone who has assisted. There were many residents, there were volunteers from across the city, there were a number of city workers from the Housing Authority, from DPW, from our own colleagues here in the City Council, from the Council President's Office and the Mayor. So I thank you all for coming around and rallying the troops because, again, none of us could do it by ourselves. I also want to thank the community anchors who were also part of this. Bon Secours, University of Maryland, Baltimore, providing everything from food and from water, and also Organization of Hope, which provided mobile shower units, toilets, all the things that people need that we take for granted on a daily basis. Southwest Partnership as a community anchor was also at the table. And again, you know, I thank you for all the gracious donations, food, water, all of it was necessary, all of it was needed. I can report to you that we were on site twice today. Work is still being continued. It's not where we want it to be, but it's progressing. We know that there is water, but the pressure is not exactly where we want it to be. But again, there are workers who are doing wellness checks. We're doing wellness checks as of 3 o'clock this afternoon. I know there are consistent updates being made. But again, there's still much more work to be done. So we have to make sure that in future events that we're well prepared, we're communicating, and that we're on the ground as soon as possible. So thank you for the time. Thank you for everyone who assisted.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Clark.
And thank you, Councilman, if I may say so, for your leadership on this issue. Your constituents are most grateful, and so are your colleagues. Mr. President, members of the council, I would ask for a moment of silence for William Bill Bland. Many of you do not know him, but when I know that my colleague from the 4th knows him very well. When I served for 8 years as president of the city council, he was the driver. And I'm afraid in this day and age, you would have been very embarrassed because I refused to let anybody else drive me. He was a graduate of the Department of Public Works. Well, he remained an employee of Public Works, but he put on very lovely suits and ties and came to work every day and stayed as late as it took. So it turned out that a couple months into my presidency, the Sun papers discovered that the driver was earning more than the president of the city council through overtime. So we had to reform ourselves a little bit, but we sort of did the best we could. He was a wonderful, wonderful gentleman and a wonderful worker, and he had a great bunch of retiree friends who met at the clubhouse, which is really the Dunkin' Donuts on Liberty, every day after non-work, because they were all retirees. He passed, and thank you for adding him to the moment of silence as we remember wonderful people who have worked with us and with the city of Baltimore so diligently and lovingly. Thanks.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for Fred Murmuran. Many of us on the council know his son, Arsh. Fred passed away unexpectedly last week. He's an accomplished civil engineer and an incredible philanthropist in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Regular announcements on this side. Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next meeting of the City Council will be held on the evening of Monday, July 22nd, 2019 at 5 p.m. We will have a moment of silence for William Bill Bland, Isabel Purnell, Fred Murmuran, the 145 now victims of homicide and their families, and also the continued opioid epidemic.
Thank you. There being no further business, this concludes the 63rd meeting of the 72nd term of the Baltimore City Council.